Welcome, Nichole. I am so happy you are here, and I can't wait to get started because you're all about putting yourself first, which is my first love.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me.
So I know that we've had a little conversation before this episode started, and I want to know a little bit about this story where it started, where you were self-neglecting and you're kind of in isolation. Now you're an accountability coach and partner. I want to know a little more.
Okay, for sure. Well, I feel like it all began with, let's just start over. It began in 2006 when I had a lot of things happening to me. I had, my dad was passing of pancreatic cancer. I had found out that my amazing husband was having an affair. I was really the lead, the family, I don't know how to say it. I guess I was just really put in the place of responsibility and making sure my dad got to his treatments, making sure that, my dad was eating the healthy choices, all of those things when dealing with all this stuff. My husband and I had moved to our hometown to another town for a big promotion for him. So me being support there, all the while commuting 3 times a week to tend to my dad as well. And then going through, listen, I have nothing negative to say about my ex-husband, period, at all. I know, kind of shocker, but the reality is he was a great guy. And I felt like we had a lot of fun. We had some great memories. We've got all of these great things happening. I just didn't get along with this girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? It was not my choice. So with that said, and having to deal with those infidelity issues, I losing my dad and then dealing with that, it just really put me in a spiral. And I really fell down a very deep, dark hole. And I was putting everyone else first. I was putting, of course, my dad first. I was putting my girls first. I was putting my now widowed mother first. I was putting everybody first. And it was a point in my life where I just did not ask for help. I did not reach out. I did not see the light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't see how time was going to heal. I didn't see that me taking care of me is giving me the energy to do all the other little things that I had to get done. I was exhausted. Jennifer, I've never been so drained in my entire life. And so that's where it all began. That's where it all starts. That's where it just, for me, took the time and the toll and the wear and the tear. And I am not that person. I just became someone I didn't recognize anymore. I looked in the mirror and I just, hair in a bun and t-shirt or loose tank top on and out the door I went. I just didn't have any care in the world for myself. And that's where I know I went wrong.
Wow. Yeah, I can understand. That sounds exhausting just from hearing the story. So from there, since we don't want to leave it on a negative, how did you start switching over to this, like, putting yourself first? I mean, that's not an easy process. We've all been there, and there's that guilt and shame or whatever. But what was your first kind of step and realization of, like, how this needs to change?
Well, I'm not going to say I was in a drunken state, but I was in a drunken state. Not going to lie. In 2007, my passport had more stamps on it than I even realized. And I don't remember it. I don't recall where I went or what I did or who I was with, even for that matter. It was really a very dark time. And one morning I woke up and I said, enough is enough. I mean, literally. Mentally, emotionally, physically, I was exhausted. And like you had mentioned, I'm just like, yeah, it was hard taking care of other people and not having the energy to do so. That was really what probably kept biting me. I just don't have the energy to do this. I can't take on any more. And yet I kept taking on more. I feel like I'm a natural people pleaser. I am more than happy to say yes because it's pleasing someone, and that I find grateful. I find gratitude in that. I'm pleased that they're pleased because I was able to show up in this way,
Yeah.
or be able to get something done for them. But that day that I woke up is the day that I said, enough is enough. How do I get myself back together? What is it that I need to do to pull the inner strength from deep down in that core of mine and know, because I'm not living. I really wasn't. I was day to day darkness, day to day, knew what I had to get done, but really didn't get it done. I just felt alone and isolated and not sorry for myself, because these were the choices that I was taking on. I'm full on accountable for my own actions. I get it. But I also felt like at that point that I really didn't know how to use my voice. So what did that look like for me? I made the statement in the mirror, and I just looked myself in the mirror and I just said, enough is enough. And I slowly just took one step at a time. And the first step was really being able to emotionally take on what was happening. And so I read an amazing book by Jensen Siro, happens to be in the back there, that You're a Badass. And Jensen Siro just is a great author and just really tells it like I receive it. She's fun, she's quick, she's witty, she's bang, 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 let's go, right? And at that point, it's just like, okay. And I didn't flood myself. So if I have any tips for your audience or my audience, I don't flood myself. I really feel that the best thing that we can do is not go balls to the wall. We get so crazy and so spread so thin. We talked about this earlier. We're like Gumby being pulled from so many different ways. But the reality is, if you can take it 3 things every single day and either accomplish them or want to accomplish them, that's the best step. Just start with one simple thing, add the next week, and then move forward from there. Because we just get so burnt out so quickly,
Oh yeah, that hamster wheel.
Oh, get me out of here.
Right.
Get me off of it, right? Absolutely, yeah. So I felt like the emotional part of me really needed to heal and take the time to recognize, hey, you got to put yourself first. And that looks like accountability, showing up every day. And what that meant for me is, I mentioned the book because I took personal development very seriously. So I would read 10 minutes a day. I literally set the same timer I have to this day, and it's just a little old fashioned cooking timer for 10 minutes. And I do 2 things. The first thing is no interruptions, period. No interruptions. The second thing is no distractions. So I don't do it with the TV on. I don't do it with my phone nearby. I literally, no interruptions, no distractions. 10 minutes, I open up the book. At 10 minutes, bing, the timer goes off. I shut the book and I'm done. Allows me to process what the hell I just read. Right? And it also gives me an opportunity to have a positive mindset to start the day.
10 minutes uninterrupted. That's a lot of people don't have that. So that's awesome that you've set up that space for yourself.
Yeah. I feel like 10 minutes is not too long. So here's the thing about self-help books. We want action, we want results now, right? Everybody wants results now. Let's use health and fitness as an example. It took us a minute to put on 20 extra pounds. It's going to take us a minute to take the 20 extra pounds off. When it comes to self-help books, everybody wants the answer right now. And they're going to continue to read the next book until the next book, until the next book. And don't get me wrong, I feel like there is a book for everyone. And it's the one that is going to resonate with you that you're going to put in place. See, the great thing about reading is you can read, but to really benefit from what you're reading is putting the action into place. And so when you put in action with a self-help book, it can pull you out of a funk. It can pull you out of the dark hole that you're in. It can give you inspiration and inspire you to live your best life. And I feel like Jensen Siro was really able to do that for me. And guess what? I'm a badass now.
Right? I have her little button on my desk. I don't know if you've heard her button. It's like, yes. You are a badass. Feed fear a suck it sandwich.
Don't you love her? I love
her.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So you went from, finding Jen's book and being empowered by that. Now you're helping other people through being an accountability partner /coach. What exactly is that?
Oh, well, great question. I'm glad you asked. So for me personally, being able to show up every single day, it's not always easy on your own, right? Statistics actually say that 65% of all goals are met with someone who's showing up to help support you. And it doesn't have to be me, but I definitely think that everyone needs someone to lean upon, to be encouraged by. And I'm going to give your audience, and of course, I always give my audience, a couple of tips on how to find the best partner. Okay. So if that's okay.
Yes, yes, please, because I
Okay,
could
here we go.
always use that too.
Okay, here we go. I definitely don't think it should be someone who really knows you. I know that sounds kind of strange, but it's very, very true. I would love for my clients and your audience, our audiences, to find someone who is getting to know you, right? And has a like goal. It doesn't have to be identical goal, but a like-minded goal. So for example, if Betty, your neighbor, wants to actually walk 30 minutes every single day, then you actually show up and Betty shows up and you eventually get to know each other because women talk along and walk at the same time. But it has to be someone who's not going to give you exactly what you've been using on yourself. And that's excuses. It's not someone who's saying, hey, I can't because, and then it followed by an excuse, right? It's followed by an excuse. It can't be someone who continues to say, I'm sorry all the time. Because I feel like, right? Because I feel like when someone is saying sorry all the time and not changing their actions, that's a form of manipulation. It really is. If you're saying sorry and you stay sorry all the time, you show up late to my walk. It's say we walk at 9 o'clock every single day. At 9 o'clock, you show up at 9:15. On Tuesday, you show up at 9:20. On Wednesday, you didn't show up at all, nor did you notify me. Okay. Not only am I starting to resent this relationship we have, but I'm also not getting what I need to get done. Right. So understanding our boundaries when it comes to an accountability partner and or accountability coach, make sure that that person is not necessarily, and again, you can try one or two. Don't think that it's going to hurt someone's feelings. Just know that, hey, I would love an opportunity to walk with you. And if it works out, then you've built a beautiful thing. If it doesn't work out, then you can move on to one who will. 65% of your goals will be reached with accountability. Whoa.
Wow.
I know, right? So what I do is I'm actually getting ready to launch my membership site in April, but I also have my podcast, and we talk about topics of things that allow you to really just kind of take a look at what's going on with me inside, right? I don't know, Jennifer, if you've had an opportunity to listen to it, but I will say that people are really liking it. They're showing up. I have a Friday follow-up show. I kind of always try to challenge you on Monday. You've got a week, 5 days to work on it. And then you show up Friday to say, hey, all right, maybe I said sorry too many times, or maybe I judged someone.
Or maybe you've listened to the same episode 6 times because it resonates and you really need the extra week. That's me. That's totally me.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure that's not true. But being able to have an opportunity to also teach live is phenomenal. I put together a workshop series and we had 28 phenomenal women that want to put themselves first. And we literally went down, I had 5 little tips for them each week. We went down a series. Week 1 was decluttering and letting go. So our mind is like a Rolodex. And when I say that, it could be a great Rolodex full of positive things, or it could be a Rolodex full of negative and bad experiences and things that kind of put you down, right? I have my Rolodex. I have my memories of my dad and what we went through and all of that stuff. I have a Rolodex of my ex-husband and my marriage and my family, but I'm removing the negative that's in those and putting them in with the positive. So when I have that flash of memory, it's going to be more filled with positive as opposed to the negative. Then decluttering and letting go, it's so important because it gives you an opportunity to replace it with fun stuff and positive things, right? Then we went through the mental and emotional part of how to actually put yourself on the top of the to-do list, because it is so important So important. I tell you, if you don't mind, I'd like to share a story with you about one of the ladies in the class. So I kind of gave the analogy, if you've ever flown. Jennifer, have you ever flown in a plane?
I'm a pilot.
So the answer is yes.
So yes.
Are you really? That's so awesome. Get it, girl. That's awesome. Okay,
So yes.
yes, the answer is yes. So we talked about how, and the majority of the class actually had flown, and there were some women that hadn't. So I had mentioned, the example of getting on the plane, and the first thing that they do are the flight attendants will give the instructions for safety, right? First goes the seatbelt, and then, if your plane becomes a cruise, the floating device under the seat and all that stuff. And then, of course, we talked about the oxygen mask and how important, how really highly they stress putting it on yourself first, right? In case the cabin pressure. And one of the students was just like, mm-mm. She sat back with, judgment, and she's like, no, you are not telling me to put on a mask first before my child. I will always put my child first. I said, okay, well, let's take a look at it if you don't mind. And she goes, yeah, let's look at it. I said, what happens if the oxygen mask come down, right? Because the cabin pressure is whatever. And again, I'm not a pilot, so you probably will know more of this than I will. But the reality is that typically when we are able to put ourselves first and put the oxygen mask on, you have to remember we're adults. And typically our children are smaller or younger. They're, not able to make quick decisions. They're not able to make rationality of what's really happening. And, who's to say that we wouldn't have an opportunity to have an open door in the plane to get our oxygen, pick our child up, and move forward with them out to safety. All I was doing is trying to give her a different perspective that, granted, yes, we do love our kids. I'm a mom. I'm a stepmom. Of course we love our kids. I hope that no one ever has to go through that experience themselves to actually make that choice. But the reality is, when we put ourselves first, we get the opportunity, and here we go, big drum roll, the energy to do the things that we really, really want to do in life. That's what's really important, is taking care of ourselves first, to have energy, the mindset, the positive outcomes of living our best life.
Oh, for sure. And if you don't put the mask on, they're not going to be able to help you. So you won't be there for them anyways.
Exactly. It was huge. Then we even talked about in the next week, we talked about be a voice and not an echo, and how using our voice. Jennifer, you've given me a beautiful platform to share my message, and I know that you continue to share yours as well. And it's just, because it only takes one story. Listen, we talked about this earlier. We are definitely not reinventing the wheel, but we are sharing it in a different format, a different way, a different body language, a different style. And somewhere, my only passion is to really be able to help one person. And if that person, I'm a big believer in the ripple effect. If that one person is happy, healthy, and smiling, and life is good, they want other people to be the same. And they become a magnet, and they become electric, and they just can't get enough of that person. And it's a ripple effect. If you have a happy person in a home, you have a happy neighbor, you have a happy community, a happy coworker, a happy society, right? And then eventually we take on the world.
Domination of self-love.
Yes, let's do it. Absolutely. Why not?
Right?
Right.
That's basically what this podcast it is for me, is like sharing that self-love, because there's just so much negativity, and you're right, it starts with one person, and it's just like you put that one really negative person in a work environment, and all of a sudden everything crumbles.
Yeah, it's true. It's like a cancer, I mean, I'm not a doctor, and I just know that if it's one bad seed, envision, instead of envision the cancer, let's envision a basket of fruit. And if one spoils, it is not within seconds or days that then it'll actually spoil the whole basket. And everybody can envision a basket of fruit. I mean, it looks amazing. It's beautiful. So I always think that that's a representation of what people want to see. But then if envision taking your hand and grabbing a piece of fruit and you turn it over and it's rotten on the inside or it's rotten on the other side, you're like, whoa, wait, what? Right? So it can spread. Negativity spreads faster than anything. It's just crazy.
So what is your one way that you use to kind of stop that if you have someone like that coming into your life so that you can kind of shoo it away?
Oh my gosh, Jennifer, it's a great question. And I'm telling you, so I happen to be an organizer of a meetup group. And my meetup group is called Why Not Fitness. And when I created the group, we had about 25 people. We have over 775 as of today. Okay. And we are women in the Pacific Northwest that we do hikes. We've done strip pole classes. It's so much fun. We did line dancing, stand-up paddleboarding, wine and waterfalls. I mean, name it, we've done it. All like-minded fitness women. Now, all levels of fitness come into play too. And as an organizer, I have pretty much set that boundary right up front. We are positive, we are uplifting, we are encouraging women. And the minute someone steps in with something negative, I squash it like a bug. Because if I allow it to happen, we just talked about the cancer and the rotten fruit, it just spreads and no one needs that. So I feel like that's a positive thing to know that where your boundaries are. And when we talk about self-love, if you don't know where your boundaries are, do some research. Google is a master at it. Learn how to set your boundaries. Being able to use your voice is one that's really key. And you have to remember that, if you don't do it, no one else is going to.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. They might not do it as well as you, but they'll do it.
It's kind of funny. They always tease me saying, "Oh, Nichole, you're so politically correct. You go right down the middle." And I think before I make my decision, I really do feel like there's choices. I could go down a negative path and call people names and throw my hands in the air and raise my voice, or I can be politically correct and say, listen, this is really what needs to happen. And if you have a problem with that, then I also know how to delete your membership. No, I don't, but I do. No, I really don't, but I could.
Yeah.
Right. But I use my voice because I want it to be an environment where women feel safe. And, you have to remember there's so many people that judge and it's just like, okay, we're done with the judging. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The judgment in, I don't know, just society for everything. I mean, yeah, I'm not even gonna go down that rabbit hole because we could be there for hours.
Hours and hours. Yes, you're totally right. Oh my gosh, yes.
And your last episode was all about judgment, so you guys should head over to check it out because I'm still re-listening for like third or fourth time.
Well, so let's touch bases on it for just a second because it's so funny because I think the person that judges the most is ourselves. We really do. We really judge ourselves first, whether it's, judging, fear, judging insecurities, judging our level of self-confidence. And, again, here we are, right back to putting yourself first, right back to self-love. Take care of you. If you're going to judge, I said this on the podcast, and I don't know if you got an opportunity to do this, but when you point the finger, you literally have three pointing back. Like 1, 2, 3, pointing back, right? So instead of pointing the finger, take a look at you first before you even speak, right? Yeah, put yourself first. Put yourself in their shoes. You don't know their backstory. You don't know their history. You don't know, there's a lot that you don't know. And I guarantee you, it will surprise you on how many times we catch ourselves judging ourselves with that self-negative talk, right? And or judging others with the self-negative talk that people can actually hear. Yeah, we voice that. No. Stop doing that.
That was part of why I keep listening over and over again is because you never know what you had the story, I think it was at a hotel, and It was just like, okay, yeah, I do that all the time. I really do need to work on that. Who knows what that person is going through at that moment.
Yeah. 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 And it's crazy because, we just had this big, huge controversy over social media about the J-Lo and the Shakira halftime performance. Hence the word performance. They're performers. What's really interesting too is how many people were just chiming in on it. I was like, whoa, wow. I mean, I was in awe. Oh, I mean, they were like, whoa, 43 and 50 years old, holla,
right?
Girls get it. But I also feel like there's so many things that person who's judging negatively with them don't realize that these are the same folks that are watching ABC's Dancing with the Stars every week, right? And if you looked at their costumes, and that's exactly what it is. It's a performance. It's a costume. Get over it, Betty.
And a lot of what I was seeing also from that was like, I hope my body's that good. And there was that lot of that comparison that was going on. So it was like all this negative talk. And then if you really read down into these messages, it was more like, I hate myself. I hate my body. Absolutely. My body's not enough. I'm not enough, and comparing like ages, like, oh my goodness, I'm in my 30s and she's in her 50s and look at her. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And, there's so many different ways to overcome that. And it all starts with exactly what we're talking about, putting themselves first, loving yourself. You got to be in the hashtag self-love club, right? I mean, for sure, right? Yeah.
It's all about the self-love club.
Yeah,
so another exciting thing I saw when I was doing some digging is that you're coming out with a book.
I am coming out with a book. I am. Do you want me to go into that?
I do. Yes, please.
Okay. So it actually goes to editing next week, and it will be slated for the end of March, first week of April. I'm so excited. It literally will have my backstory into it, as well as giving you some opportunity to work on yourself, right? And I'm elated. I can't wait. I just can't wait. I'm trying to think of what the I don't know if I should give the title or not.
You don't have to. I was just excited to see that you were coming up with it. I mean, the fact that you're putting your story out there, because we were talking in the beginning about like the written word and taking that 10 minutes. Like it's pretty special to know that 10 minutes that somebody might be taking is for your book.
I know. I know. And it really, I'll tell you what though, talk about putting yourself first. Holy cow. I mean, my goal, I am a queen of procrastination. I literally just blogged a blog about confessions of a procrastinator. And that's totally me. But I will say that it took me 10 years to write this book. I've had this in my head and mindset and all this stuff for about 10 years. And I've been so busy and understanding that spreading myself thin, not taking care of myself. So I've packed on the pounds and I've got a cranky attitude and just things like that. So now being able to roll back and say, you know what, look at yourself, Nichole, enough is enough. And just, starting back in December of 2015 is where I, again, just really went, okay, enough's enough. We got to get going again. And, here's the thing. It's either day one or one day. And why not now? I say you're living your best life. If you're not, you have the choice to do it now. So why wouldn't you?
I don't know. Why wouldn't you?
Well, there's so many that don't. They're busy. They're putting everybody else first. And again, the idea is to do exactly that. Put yourself first, whatever that looks like. If it's your morning routine, if it's your, hashtag balance, you have to understand that when you go through life, just numb to all the things that life has to offer, no one's going to remember that. No one's going to remember that stuff. You're not going to remember that stuff because you were numb. But when you go through life enjoying and smelling and tasting and seeing all the fun and adventure that you really can have, oh my God, what a life. You are living a great life. And more likely you're doing it with a partner or friend or companion, maybe Betty across the street, who knows?
Or maybe you.
Or me, come on over.
Right?
Absolutely, of course.
Speaking of that, how can they find you if they would like to have you as an accountability partner or to just check in and see if you guys are a good fit?
Oh, I would love that. Thank you. They can go to the website. It's NicholeBanks.com. I do spell my name with an H, so it's Nichole Banks.com. I do offer free consultations of 30 minutes to see if we're a good fit. And there's a couple things that I'll send them prior to the conversation. And then you can always check me out every Monday and Friday, of course, on the podcast. And any of my social links are also dropped in the show notes for the podcast too.
And I will put all your information in the show notes of this podcast.
Thanks, Jennifer.
So if you could leave the audience with the most powerful statement that you can, think of, what do you want to leave the audience with?
I feel like it is what I say at the end of every podcast. Holding people accountable is love. And it brings something to me because it's such a passion of mine. You got to show up for yourself, folks. I'm telling you, you have to show up. Life is so good. I don't care what you're going through right now. Go through it, learn from it, experience it, take it all in. But one day you're going to say enough is enough, because I feel that when I hold you accountable, you are capable of a bigger game. You are so capable. I can't wait to see you. I hope that you show up. I'm here. I hope you are too.
I absolutely love that. So thank you so much for being here. And if anybody needs to find you, I will again put everything in the show notes. But I really appreciate your time and your message. And remember, enough is enough. So put yourself first today. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer, for having me. It's always with a grateful heart. I appreciate your time.